Welcome, welcome, welcome to Table Talk. I'm so excited to have you guys join us. I'm so excited tonight about my special guest I have on tonight. We're going to have a great conversation. And I say conversation because I want to hear some input from everyone once we start this discussion, because I know you guys are going to have information and questions and things that you want to share. And so I want to start now, and I just want to welcome my special guest, Portia. You want to make sure I'm saying your name right? Portia?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And I've never met you, but what happened is I was on Facebook and one of my friends posted your book, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love that. I love the title of the book just stood out. The Lord truly gave you that name for that book. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I love that. We have conversations with our friends, with our girlfriends, with our prayer partners about this subject, and to see it be the title of your book. And I want to tell everybody the title of the book. Why are you so mad at work when you say you love the Lord? Oh my goodness. Before I get started with asking you a couple of questions, I want to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself, so those that are watching now and that will watch later. And then after you share a little bit about yourself and your background, I want to know what made you want to write this book.
Okay. So hi, everybody. It is a pleasure, Yolanda, to be here. I'm so excited. This is an honor. I'm humbled to be here to talk to you all. My name is Portia Zaire. I am a newly published author of this wonderful book that I'm here to talk about. I am a mom and a wife. I have two young boys, 16 and 10. I guess they're not so young anymore. I am a registered nurse. I'm a nurse leader, and I am the CEO and founder of Zaire's Heart. We are a company that prides ourselves on providing education, professional development, and training for the healthcare profession, specifically licensed nurses. So we do a lot of continuing education conferences and things like that. I've always been a writer. So this is kind of like it was kind of destined to be that this is happening the way that it happened. And the reason why I'm from Columbus. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but I live in Columbus now, Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
But the reason why I wrote this book, like you said, we have these conversations with our friends and our sisters, and we're trying to figure out, like, what is the problem? And I'll tell you this. It is not a day that goes by where you encounter someone who's toxic and who's nasty and who is bitter. That feeds. It feeds, and it kind of spreads throughout workplace and throughout the environment and the team. And it's almost like an infection. It just grows and grows and grows. And it boggles me. You learn that these say they know who God is and that they have a relationship.
Absolutely.
And you're thinking to yourself, relationship? What is happening?
Exactly.
But they're talking to you intelligently about the things of God. But in the next breath, they're cussing out their coworkers, they're gossiping. Everything that comes out of their mouth is negative. They never have any good things to say. Their outlook is so grim. And it's like, if there can be one little thing that's going on in the company or in the organization or in the team, and they take it and they make it like this.
Yeah.
But they're still talking about how they know who God is. And it gets you to the place where you are concerned. You know how you have that moment where you're connected to somebody either by the color of your skin or your religious affiliation or something that you do, and then something happens and they do something and you're like real embarrassed and you just like want to do like one of those numbers. That's kind of like how I feel in certain environments. So that's kind of like where this came from.
Wow. I am just so excited to really have this conversation, because a lot of times some of the things that we do when things like this happen, we get with our girlfriends that understand it and get it. Right. They're not the ones that's doing it, but we don't have these kind of conversations are the ones that are doing it and having these issues at work and modeling this behavior that doesn't line up with the word, doesn't line up when we say we're Christian. But one of the things that I've seen is that we use that term, I'm a Christian, very loosely, and we forget that it means Christ-like. It means that our life should look different. It means we should respond differently when something happens, and that we come to the table with solutions because we were born to as problem solvers, and we are creators. And so one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, when you were writing the book, what was the chapter that was the hardest for you to write?
I think the chapter it was the hardest, but it was also the most rewarding, was chapter number 9 on recovery. And it's about recovering from failure. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that as professionals, anyone wants to fail, but you have to give yourself space to fail or you'll never grow. And you have to be okay with that. And even as, when we're talking about spiritually, we have those bad days where it's us who's the person where folks want to hide because we're the ones acting out, right? Yeah. But you have to be able to grow from that and not stay in that space. And I remember I had a point in my life and my career a few years back where it was me. And I felt like I was justified in my actions because things were going on and I felt like I was being attacked. So this was just my own defense mechanism. And it wasn't until 2 of my coworkers pulled me to the side and they said, Portia, you've changed. You're not the Portia that we know. You're not the Portia here. And I'm like, I changed. You don't see what's going on. You see how they treat me? Like, it's not me, it's y'all, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, no. So I stood in that front office, in that front hallway, and I listened to them tell me how I had changed, how my negative behavior was impacting them, how they didn't like what they saw. They wanted me to do whatever I needed to do to get my life together, okay? And I listened for about 20 minutes. And I said, okay. So then that same week, that's within those same couple of days, I came home, and I guess I had been complaining about work, and my 12-year-old said, Ma, I'm tired of hearing you complain. 12. He said, you either need to find a new job or you need to figure out how you're going to deal with it.
Wow. You're 12-year-old. Okay, 12-year-old. Minister to your mother.
My 12-year-old. And that was the day that I said, you know what? I had got it from the coworkers. I had got it from the son. And I told God, I went and I fell on my knees and I said, Lord, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And I'm a journaler, so I could go back to when I was journaling, asking God. I remember praying Psalms 25, Lord, vindicate me. Don't let my face be put to shame. Show people that you are my God. I remember praying that and writing that. And I had to tell God, forget all of that. I know that these people, and I know that you've seen what they're doing, but right now, I'm sorry. Because this is not who I am. And I told him, if you will forgive me and if you will restore me, I promise you on Monday, I will go back to work and I will apologize to everybody. And from here on out, I will make sure that I am walking in step with your word. So he lifted. One
of the things you just said that I think we forget, we can find fault in others quicker than we can find fault in ourselves, and where we need to have some correction done. We can see everybody else's stuff. The word even talks about that. And it's so good that not only were you looking, when you were writing this book, you were looking at, okay, how can I help people that this is a concern for? What's in my heart? And, anytime God gives us a work like this or gives us a word to preach, we're the first partakers of that word. And it's amazing that when you actually realize it, you went to ask the Lord and you went to repent and said, okay, get me right so that I can be who you want me to be and not just see what everybody else is doing. And a lot of times we don't get to that point. We stay mad long. We leave the job. And sometimes the Lord sends us to places for a purpose. We have an assignment, and sometimes we want to leave our assignment because we don't like the way the people are acting, but we're actually the one he's sending in to really even work on that thing, and we don't even want to do it. We're like, Lord, all these people, they are mad. Lord said, I sent you there. I need you to be the light. That is so good. One of the chapters that really stood out to me, and I want you to talk a little bit about this, and really those that don't feel like they're in a leadership role and they're looking at their title and not their behavior. And in your chapter, Why Leadership? Tell me a little bit about how that chapter came and kind of what was your focus with the chapter 2.
So I've never applied for a leadership position. I was promoted, I was sought out for all of my promotions. People came to me and said, "We like to see you, we want you to come do this." And I remember back when I was a nurse on the floor, and I never wanted to be in management because I felt like it was worse. It wasn't what I wanted. It was always something that was sour, always a mess. So I didn't want to have anything for writing. So one of the things that when people are asking me to step into the really, why do I want to do this? What am I going to do? What does it mean for me to be a leader? And that's what that chapter is about. Like, what are your reasons for wanting to be a leader? Because of the pomp? Is it because of the authority that you think you're going to have? Or do you want to be a leader because this is the right fit and you feel this is your calling?
It looks like her internet looks like it went out. I think she's coming back in. I see her coming back in. I think a lot of times when we're going to keep moving forward because I'm loving this conversation. Sometimes we get into leadership positions and we think it's only about a title, but it's really about how are you lead. You're leading no matter what position you're in, you are a leader. And I think sometimes we get into leadership positions because we're excited about a title, and we don't realize that no matter what your position, you are a leader. And I want to see who's online with us while we're waiting for you to come back in. Let's see. Minister Author Reen Hoskins, thank you for watching. And I see my girl Carol Harris, she's watching. And Carol was saying, speak, and I see blessings coming forth. And so I thank you guys for joining us. I'm hoping she can come back in with us. Looks like her internet, she's trying to come back in. And I'm going to see if she's coming back. I'm going to take myself and put myself in here. One of the things that when I was looking at her book, one of the things I always say to myself is, I'm a minister in the marketplace. And a lot of times when I go into different places, I see behaviors from people that don't line up with the word, and I get very disturbed. And then this book kind of speaks to that. And I think a lot of times we watch it, but we don't go and have a conversation. Welcome back. A conversation with the women or the men or whomever it is in the workplace that display a behavior. And then you see them on Sunday with their hands up worshiping, and you know they lead a life group. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but I'm saying that we have to have discipline, that even when a hard situation happens, people that don't know the Lord are not in church, they're watching you because of who you say you are. And your behavior speaks louder than your words. And I think sometimes we get afraid to approach a woman to say something about it. And you were talking a little bit about leadership. And talk a little bit about in your chapter 8, you talk about finding your groove.
Finding your
groove. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I also want you to give me an example of a time that you were in a setting in a workplace and this kind of behavior was happening. And what was your response before the book? And what is your response now when you see it?
So Finding Your Groove was a fun one because I've been 4 years and I'm fairly young. I'll be 37 in October. And you see leadership, and sometimes it's not the type of leader that you want to be. But you see it and you're like, okay, so is this how I want to be, or do I want to be this way? But you have to figure out, what is your style? Who are you? I find out that I am my best when I'm allowed to be my best. When I'm just simply allowed to be Portia, when I can develop people, when I can create, when I can do my job. And I have to be burdened down with the drama of the little itty bitty things that makes no sense. When I'm building people and I'm building their character, that kind of stuff makes me excited. Like, I am happy about that. That's where my happy place is. So finding your groove in leadership is finding, what type of leader are you? Are you an engaged leader? You have to kind of know who you are. I'll tell you this. There is 3 things that keep me on my face before God. It is being a wife, being a mother, and being a leader. And in my leadership, I have to stay before God to ask him, who do you want me to be for the people that you have given me charge over? Mm-hmm. What do they need? And sometimes that means that I be comfortable. Sometimes I have to step out of my comfort place to be what that person needs me to be right now. But at any rate, finding your groove is literally just finding who you are. What is it that makes you a great leader? Somebody somewhere saw something great in you. Somewhere along the line, you thought that you were cut out to be a leader. What was that? You finding mentors, people who are going to grow you up and grow you out. You know, you want to find people who are going to be honest with you and constructive, but be, healing place and a safe place. So that's really what that finding your groove is about.
Yes. So how has this book changed the way you lead, change the way you interact with women on the job? And I want to also check to see if anyone has any questions as you're checking that. I want to see if you have any questions, please jump in here. If you have any questions for us, please post your questions and we will definitely get to them.
So before writing the book, which was just last year, because I started writing the book in early February or March, I felt like I knew people were watching, but I didn't realize I had the impact that I had. After writing the book, because the reason why the book came into fruition was in January, my mentor, she's a pastor out in LA. Her church, they did this 70-day journey in the Bible from cover to cover. So on January 1, she called me and said, Portia, I need you to go through this journey with us. And I said, okay, I'm in. She said, okay, great. So she sent me the stuff every day. And, we did all that together. The Old Testament is full of great leadership. Stories is full of great, what type of leader you should be, what type of leader you shouldn't be, what God wants from his leaders. And then you can just kind of transplant that into whatever department or area you work in. So as I was going through the Bible, God was showing me, okay, this is what you're doing well, and this is where I need you to focus on. Oh, I love that.
The Bible surely has everything we need. Everything. Situation, any circumstance, the answer is there. That's so good. Thank you. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Good. You're good. So through that journey through the Bible, and it was really the Old Testament that showed me what type of leader that God really wanted and the type of leader that he called to himself. That showed me, okay, Portia, softer in this area. You can be more wise in this area. One thing that I like about the kings and the priests, everybody who God had set up to lead in the Old Testament, they always had somebody who was connected to God. Every time they wanted to move and make a decision, they always sent that one person to go before God and ask, ask God how we're supposed to do this. Go seek God and then come back and tell me. That's what's missing in our leadership as faith women and men. We leave God out of that. Even in the marketplace, we should still be seeking God on behalf of the decisions that we're making, even when we have to do corrective action for the people that are under our purview. We should still be seeking God. Tell me what to say, because I don't want to damage this person.
Yeah.
This is your child. Yeah. And I want to make sure that the soul that you have given as a resource isn't damaged because of my leadership.
Exactly.
So after the book, I have really learned to be like the people in the Old Testament. You got to have a direct line every time to God, and you have to wait to hear what he has to say before you make big decisions in your leadership.
Wow, that is so good. And I think a lot of times we forget that the answers to our questions, especially if you're a faith leader in the marketplace, if you're an entrepreneur. I talk to my clients all the time that are faith leaders, and they're having hard situations, and when I'm meeting with them, they're telling me how they responded, and I have to sometimes check them and say, well, maybe you could have done it a little differently. Even though there was some corrective action needed, sometimes we need to put ourselves in that person's place and say, how would I want someone else to speak to me?
Right.
How would I want someone else to respond? Yes, you need to make the corrective action, but we can do it with grace.
Yep.
I remember, and she's watching, she's going to crack up. One of my staff, when I ran a foundation, she said to me, you meet with Miss Yolanda and you leave. You don't even know you have been corrected until later. You were like, oh, she was, yeah. Because I've just learned that it's going to, at the end, grow you as a leader. And sometimes there are hard conversations we have to have, but we don't have to be mean-spirited. We don't have to leave that meeting and go talk to everybody about what we did in that meeting.
Exactly.
We need to be able to cover that person. And a lot of times what we're doing, we're thinking that being a leader is letting everybody know that you're the bad person in the room. When you're coming as a faith leader, they need to see your humility. They need to see your leadership and how you interact during the hard times and then during the happy times. And also even being that leader that don't always have to take the credit for things when you know you had a team that you worked with. One of the things I've seen is that leaders, they get up and make speeches and they talk about how great things were, but they never give the credit to some of the staff that really, really actually made that happen. And so we have to learn to do that as well. Does anybody have any questions? I'm looking to see if anybody has any questions. So tell me, you talked about you're an entrepreneur, you have your own company, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I am so excited about that. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and I love seeing that, especially with young entrepreneurs. Yeah. So what made you want to start your own business? I know you're a nurse, you went to college, you're a nurse, but what made you want to step out, not only to be an author? A lot of times I always tell people, you got a book in you. And I see Mary was watching. Mary, you have a book in you, and I need you to finish that book. Yes, I'm calling you out on the show. I need you to get that book done. And you too, Carol Harris, and authoring Hoskins, all three of you guys, that book is in you, and I know you're going to get that done. So I'm looking forward to that. But what made you want to step out as a young professional and say, I just want to go out on my own and do this? And kind of, were there any fears or doubt? Or kind of, what was that journey for you?
It's always fears and doubts, even up to even today when you're not getting what you want. But it's okay because, you have a dream. And what I've learned is everything is not like, woo, God said. A lot of it is because you are taking care of kingdom business. He sanctions what you want.
Yes, so, that's good.
And I'm an educator by nature. I love to educate. I love to provide the tools and the resources for people to be able to do their best. And as nurses, especially in ambulatory or primary care, I feel like there's not enough reliable education and training for that subset. So I'm like, I can do this. Like, I can develop education because this is what I've been doing for years. This is what I've been prepared for. This is my training ground. And I have an amazing boss. And I remember a few years ago, when I was developing the education and training for our medical assistants, he said, Portia, you need to patent this. And I was like, oh, no, this is my job. He was like, nah. He said, I know people will pay for this. He said, what you're doing in this setting is not being done anywhere. And, it took 2 years for me to realize, you know what, this is a gift. This is something that I can nurture, and I can stroke, and I can form and make it something that's just mine, and I can put my spin on it. And the biggest thing about me is that I want people, when they encounter myself or my services, I want them to get the best of me, and that's my heart. And that's the name of my business.
Yes. I always tell the entrepreneurs, give them more than they were expecting. Go over and above, because we're not doing the work unto them, we're doing it unto him. And so when we do that and we offer excellent work, it actually opens doors for other people to call, because they're going to talk about it. They're going to call people and say, we had this training today, we met this speaker today. I mean, I've had so many doors open when I was somewhere speaking. Sometimes it wasn't even based on what I talked about. It was based on my interaction after I got off the stage. After you finish preaching, after you finish teaching, it's your interaction with people that's going to make them really begin to really connect with you and want you to come back or refer you to someone else. But they're looking at you from the time you hit the stage to the time you exit the stage. How are you interacting with other people? And especially if they know you're a believer, they're really watching. And so I just want to say, as we begin to wrap the show up, is that I think you all need to just go get her book. Pick up her book, get all the chapters and read all the chapters so you can see the different things that she shared in the book about women of faith in the marketplace, or even men. How are you interacting in those settings where it may be hard? How are you responding to people when it's hard? What is the conversation you're having in the workplace that doesn't line up with the word? And I want you to be able to really take an inventory of yourself. Sometimes we worried about what everybody else is doing in the workplace. Think back on different situations where it was a hard situation, and how did you respond? So think about those situations with yourself. That's why that book stood out to me, because I've heard so many women, especially with women, that have had situations with individuals in the workplace, and they come to me and say, sometimes they're non-believers. They said, this woman was supposed to be a Christian, and the way she handled herself, I was shocked that she even goes to church. So we need to take an inventory of ourselves, so that when we get back to the office, we're going to be able to kind of catch ourselves before we start responding, and we're going to remember these conversations we had tonight. And Portia, tell me what's next for you, and how can people get your book, and how can they follow you on your social media sites?
So I'm so excited. Zaire's Heart is offering consistently now continuing education credits. So we're doing live webinars that are recorded. You can go to zairesheart.click4course.com, and that is click4course.com. Zaire's Heart click4course.com to sign up for any of those webinars, or to look at past webinars that you may have missed. And that's not just for nursing education, but we also do a leadership panel, and we have some really great topics. So we have 3 panels that we've already completed that are already uploaded onto the website. You can connect with me on Facebook. My business page is Zaire's Heart, and my personal page, so you can have it in your hand. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but she's so beautiful.
Yes, she is. I love that cover. I love it.
I love it. I don't know who this lady is, but this whole face is like doing it for me. If you want a paperback copy, I do ship all over the country. You can just email me at zairesheart@gmail.com and tell me what your order is. And then I do accept Cash App, PayPal, and credit card by phone.
Great. I want to thank her again. I'm see if they can see this. Let me see if I'm putting it in the right place. So you go and you can download it, but I'm going to order the hard copy. I like books, you know. I grew up, I need to flip and highlight. I need to flip the pages. I need to highlight the areas I want to remember. So I'm definitely going to get a hard copy, and I want to encourage you guys to go to her pages and follow her. I'm going to have her even put that information in the comment area of the show, and you can connect with her after the show. And so I want to thank you all for joining us today at Table Talk. At Table Talk, we talk about business strategy. We talk about entrepreneurship. We talk about faith. We talk about family. And so I'm so excited and glad that you could join me today. And I look forward to having more conversations with you about this topic. And I want to wish you guys a rest of the week and a great weekend. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.